Hey there fellow travelers, welcome back to our channel. In this video, I'm going to share everything you need to know before you visit Malaysia. We are going to cover common tips, visa requirements, accommodation, food, activities and transportation. If you are new here, welcome to Escape to Find Peace. I share recommendations, itineraries, mostly budget travel, and sometimes food and culture. So far, I have shared places to visit in the UAE, Malaysia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan. Be sure to check out the playlist of your choice to know more about the places I have shared. Subscribe to follow the rest of my adventures, and want to share it with you to help you travel without much trouble. Depending on your country, you might get 90, 30, or 14 days of visa travel, or you might need an e-visa. Make sure to do your research and know the requirements for your country before you enter Malaysia. Since most of the viewers are from UAE and India, let me speak to you guys directly. Good news for Indian passport holders. As you know, you are eligible for visa-free entry into Malaysia, which permits a stay of up to 30 days for each entry and visit to the country. All you have to make sure is that your passport is valid at least 6 months. You need proof of onward travel, meaning a ticket out of Malaysia. Make sure you have this before you are boarding your first flight. Along with this, you need to have a confirmed hotel booking, proof of sufficient cash or bank balance, and finally the compulsory online submission of Malaysia Digital Arrival Card, MDAC. You need to submit this exactly 3 days before the arrival date. I have attached the online MDAC forms for the travelers in the description below. Another thing to note is the taxes in Malaysia. There is a tourism tax of 10 ringgit per night on hotel stays and high luxury excise taxes. Be sure to factor these into your budget. General tips before visiting Malaysia. How to dress as a tourist in Malaysia. Malaysia is a Muslim country and most of the population practices Islam, so dress modestly. There are no strict dress rules for tourists, but it's good to be considerate. If you visit religious sites, you will need to cover up. Some places provide garments for both men and women. For example, men may get robes and a hat when visiting a mosque, and women will be asked to cover their hair along with an abaya. This practice is common in many countries. Since Malaysia is a Muslim country, you will find many halal restaurants. There are also Indian and Chinese communities, so you can find non-halal food as well. Just keep that in mind while you pick a place to eat. Wherever I visit, I make sure to visit grocery stores for snack and breakfast options to avoid going over budget. Or just order through Grab. It's an application and it's cheaper too. If you can't adjust to food other than your native cuisine, you might want to skip visiting the country. Even though it's easier to find an Indian cuisine in Kuala Lumpur, it's challenging in Langkawi and it's quite pricey for average tasting food. I loved Malaysian dishes and ended up packing their sauces back home. For those allergic to seafood and nuts, carry enough anti-allergy meds as these ingredients are quite common in all their dishes. You won't be expected to tip at restaurants with taxi drivers or for most services. However, if you join group tours, the guide may mention tipping, but it's not mandatory. It's best to keep a universal adapter so that you don't have to keep buying different plugs based on the countries you travel to. I have shared a link in the description. This universal adapter has been a lifesaver for me. I strongly recommend getting one with a power surge protector because you never know the quality of the power supply in hotels, and it can protect your electronics. The Wi-Fi and internet in Malaysia have decent speed, so you don't have much trouble staying in touch with friends and family. When it comes to SIM cards, I still buy them at the airport, which is highly not recommended. However, you can opt for an eSIM if you are someone who frequently travels. Keeping track of tiny SIM cards can be frustrating, but this alternative provides good packages. More details are in the description below. A common question I get is whether Malaysians overcharge tourists. My honest answer is, it depends. If you are at a beach for activities, there's a good chance of overcharging. However, I have visited many night markets and other places where prices were the same for everyone. Many paid attractions in Malaysia have different prices for locals and tourists, and they are very transparent about it. Plan your visits during weekdays. I suggest visiting on a Monday if possible, since you might get a better conversion rate for ringgits earlier in the week. The currency in Malaysia is the ringgit. Credit cards are widely accepted even for smaller transactions, but stick with Visa or MasterCard. I personally carried cash because I knew the places where I could easily exchange money. It's easy to find ATMs around Malaysia, so don't worry about that. There are a lot of misunderstandings about visiting particular countries. Therefore, I want to clarify this after every travel series. Thank God, I was safe during my visits to all these countries. Malaysia is a safe destination. Some locals did warn me about bag snatchers and pickpockets, especially if you are alone at night. But I never had any bad experience. So all in all, Malaysia is super safe as long as you are cautious and careful. Now to the most asked question. How much did my trip cost? Tourism has grown over the past 2 years. There are many direct flights to Malaysia than ever. So it is more expensive than the years before. But I managed to get the best rates both times. The budget in detail will be shared in the videos coming up. This time, I traveled with a larger group and stayed in my previous accommodation. I have added a small shots in the iCards above. Further details are in the description below as well. And no, I was not sponsored during my stay. In Malaysia, I visited Langkawi and Kuala Lumpur. In Langkawi, use Grab application for transportation. You might rarely find AirAsia taxi rides, whereas in Kuala Lumpur, Grab is costlier than AirAsia. The cheapest option is definitely the metro and buses, but if you prefer more comfort, use taxis. Most taxis are metered, but I highly recommend using AirAsia over local taxis here since the payment is fixed. When choosing taxis, they might not come on time, pick up at the wrong point, have a waiting time of up to 20 minutes, or even cancel your ride. I'm only mentioning this to give you a heads up. No country is perfect. There are plenty of airports in Malaysia, making it easy to move around by plane or boat. Let me know if you know any other taxi applications commonly used here. If you are thinking of renting a car, let me warn you, it's more expensive because taxis here are cheaper, especially if you are traveling with a larger group. Driving in Malaysia is not super aggressive. No one honks excessively and drivers are generally polite. Just be aware of the motorcycles on each side, which was new to me. Unlike my last visit, there are plenty of motorcyclists on the road now. The only expensive thing in the country is the outdoor fun activities. But there are many places in Malaysia that you can visit for free. I don't recommend booking activities way in advance. Just book a day before and that's good enough. Try to book all paid activities from one agent so you can bargain better. If I have skipped any details you wanted to know, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you haven't seen my initial Malaysia playlist, go ahead and watch it to shortlist the places you like. I wanted to make this Malaysia travel series as diverse as possible, so I might add more places and activities for you to consider while you are in this beautiful country. Don't worry, I won't repeat the same places, but will definitely add new information. I'll keep posting my travel series here so you can check the ones you are interested in. Unfortunately, I have missed shooting some adventures, but as you know, not everything goes as planned. More details will be shared in my next video. Don't stop following along. I have so many things to share and can't wait to hear your suggestions and recommendations.